Hello, 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 hello! What the hell is that? Let's turn this down a bit. This game is loud. Alright. And it's also laggy. What the heck is making all that noise? Alright. Hold on. This is too noisy. There we go. That's better. Now I can actually hear myself think. I don't know why it's so whooshy in this area. Alright, guys. You see what the title is. Okay, I don't know if this thing's having a hairball. Okay, I'm going over here. I don't want to hear the hairball. Alright. This is my final word on Path of Exile. And hopefully this video, well, it's going to buffer because my ISP stucks and I have a lot of buffer bloat problems. But I just ordered a Ubiquity router with SQM, so that should fix that once I figure out how to configure it, that is. Anyway, alright, I've gotten a lot of hate and a lot of confusion and all that from the last video I did on this, trying to explain. And yeah, it was a rant. And the video I'm talking about is one that's called Path of Exile. It's lonely to be normal, toxic players, insane viewpoints, blah, blah, blah. Alright, here's the thing. And yeah, I was feeding the trolls and I baited them. But I got some decent feedback, some relatively, you know, some pretty intelligent responses. And one of them I got on my YouTube channel came from a guy named Neverending. And he had a pretty, you know, reasonable viewpoint. He's started off with he's saying he was confused by my grievance. Toxic player base will always be there in a game. You just got to block them. As for the resist, what are you referring to? Blah, blah, blah. And then he went on to explain in a response. When I responded to him, he responded back. And he talks about a checks and balances in that, you know, the things like the resistance penalties that came up. And apparently there's more. I've done some research. And apparently there has always been a resistance hit every time you completed, like if you completed Cruel, Merciless, you got like 20% resistance hits then. So apparently this whole idea of a resistance hit is not new. Now, being somebody that hasn't played this game for 5,000 hours, I've only played it for just this side of 800. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I still don't like it. If anything, it makes my point even more valid, which is there's really no point for it. But I've been doing some thinking, and I've come to a realization that I know why it's there. It's there not because grinding gear is necessarily a bunch of masochists and you know, a-holes. It's there because of the flawed market system. Let me explain this to you. Well, the best way to explain it is to actually let me read you my response to what Neverending had to say. And this pretty much sums it up. And in writing this, it kind of came to fruition what the core problem is with Path of Exile, and why the XP penalties and the artificial resistances and difficulties are there. And they shouldn't be. It's because of the marketplace. It's because so many people, instead of playing the game, will go to the marketplace to try to get a shortcut. And part of the reason to go to the shortcut is because the drops in the game are so horrible. Now, you get better drops if you go through the labyrinth. Sometimes if you have a rare item mod or something like that, and a gem socket that's leveled up, sometimes you'll find better loot that drops, but you will never find better loot on your own as a found player, which is I've played through 6 characters. I've played as found characters, never touched the marketplace, which, by the way, is external to start with, which is another problem. But Let me read you this. Let me read you this one. And this isn't just for Never Ending. This is for all of you. This is where I'm coming from. If you think I'm demented, if you think I'm an a-hole, if you think I want it easy, well, you're wrong. Here's where I'm coming from. I just never really could figure out what exactly was wrong and why they were doing this until I looked at this guy's response. And I have to thank Never Ending, because Never Ending on YouTube, check him out, you know, he made me think about it and made me really kind of ponder and look at the game and why certain things are the way they are. And I figured it out. Unfortunately, I'd also figured out that I won't be continuing on with this game because of it. Not until some radical changes happen. Anyway, let me go on here, and this is gonna take a little while. It's a few paragraphs, but let me read you where I'm coming from here. Okay, now, first off, Never Ending, he's like, well, as for the players, you'll never change that, and actually complaining about the toxicity means that they won in their mind because they triggered me. No, they didn't really trigger me. As for resistances, you have to realize this is GGG's way of implementing cruel and merciless into the game. Those modes were from the very beginning similar to Diablo 2, where if you defeated Diablo once, you would unlock the nightmare difficulty. Along with the unlock came better loot chances. Yes, but he didn't say anything about the resistances. That's my little commentary. Same things happen to PoE. Difficulty ramps up or power creep because you're getting further in the game and the chance of better or more powerful loot increases. Okay, that's not true. That is not true. I have had just as good a loot show up in Act 10 as if I had show up in Act 3. So that's not true. They may be leveled more, but they're not necessarily better. That's assuming that proceeding in the game automatically updates the loot. That is not the case. And anybody who's played this game straight knows that. Okay, so I'll take issue with that. But he's saying that basically what you're asking for is a single-player SSF model mode, which I don't think GG is going to do. The player base is just way too small, I feel. Okay, here's my response. And this is straight from me. I said, actually, I usually don't care what other players do. With XP penalties and progressively harder bosses, there's no need for the resistance penalties in the straight story game. The checks and balances you mentioned don't really exist. The marketplace is external to the game, and many players just go farm chaos orbs and better to purchase equipment from other players instead of playing the game straight up. I've watched live streams of people just lining up while a level 100 whatever farms a map for loot in exchange for some orbs. That's wrong. Instead of playing the game to advance, they just look for the shortcut. That shortcut mentality has caused an escalation of difficulty in standard gameplay to compensate for it, and ultimately defeats the purpose of having a campaign story mode. Worse, in-game drops never measure up to what can be found in the marketplace, which is wrong in my view. I continue. I've got no problem with what happens in League and Hardcore. That's perfect for those who want a bigger challenge. Playing through acts isn't easy to start with, but all the trading going on, that's going on to counter this milk run, as you call it, is basically causing these artificial escalations of difficulty, like the resistance penalties. And I go on to say, I've played RPGs all the way back to Titan Quest in the modern era, and classics like Zork and Planetfall in the old days. This is a relatively new development. RPGs are always a balancing act and rarely easy, even without the MMO components. Everybody thinks this genre began and ended with Diablo, but all I see is some of its bad developer habits becoming mainstream. I've played this game for 4 years through 6 different characters, and I've never been able to get a character as well developed without the external marketplace as others who do. Something outside of the game shouldn't have such a big influence on it. That's the core issue, as it affects everything else. GGG needs to implement its own in-game marketplace to fix this. Then they won't need the artificial barriers. In any case, I'm tired of it. If that's what GGG wants to do, they can have it. Funny thing is, I get more, personally, and this is true, out of fighting my way through with found equipment than looking for shortcuts just so I can be Lord Invincible, quote unquote, in my YouTube streams. It just pisses me off that the shortcuts get catered to instead of forcing them to play forcing players to play the actual game. And that's what I mean. That's the crux of it. What's happened is the external marketplace and all this trading that's going on that GGG really has very limited control over. A lot of this stuff happens, you know, you go through a chat session here. Let's see, I can't remember my chat key because I never use the darn things. Let me look at my options here. I think I have the chat turned off. Show flash buffs. Yeah. Global trade chat. Let's do trade chat. Okay. There we go. You see this? This is the trade chat. All right? Now people go in here and they say, "Hey, I'm looking for X." And somebody comes along and says, "Well, I'll give you X for this many whatever. You know, give me 1,000 Chaos Orbs, give me a couple of Regals, whatever." Okay? And this is very active. The thing is, Grinding Gear knows this. What happens is, instead of people playing the game and trying to grinding to level their characters, they're grinding to get currency so that they get better equipment. What happens is an unnatural elevation of skills and power in the character, which can overwhelm the game itself. The only way Grinding Gear can offset this is to increase the difficulty. The problem is, if you're not somebody who visits the marketplace, this game is much more difficult and much more limiting to a found item character. Now, some would say, well, then just go to the marketplace. Except that I don't play a game personally, and I don't feel I'm alone. I don't play a game just to grind to get items so I could go trade. I want to play the game for the experience. I love what Path of Exile is from the standpoint of a story, from the standpoint of the visuals. I mean, this is gorgeous stuff. But let's face it. I mean, look at the best example. Look at these players. Now, I finished the game. The majority of these players level 94, level 86, okay? And look at this guy, level 95. And let me tell you about Afakmi. Okay, Afakmi. This guy keeps showing up. Do you know what he is? Do you know why he's always there? He's a trader. Excuse me. All he does is trade, so he stays available in these places with characters he knows are going to need equipment, okay? And he trades, and he stays real available. All you gotta do is go and it's like, "Oh yeah, dude, yeah, I need this." And you contact him, and he'll go away and go, either he'll do your trade or he'll go fight something because he's got this monster level character to do it. And that's what most of this game is driven by. And you say, well, that's not a problem. Well, it is a problem for the game, because now it's just about the economy and not about the game. This is why I'm looking at, I think it's called Wolcent or Warcent. It's supposed to be launching this summer. This is something I'm looking at because it kind of removes all of this. It kind of takes the best parts of PoE and the best parts of Diablo, but gets rid of this BS. You know, you don't have this problem with the trading in that screwing up the game. The problem is Grinding Gear is spending all their time trying to keep up, trying to keep the game interesting for this demographic of players who are very vocal and do a lot of YouTube vids and to their credit do a lot of promotion, free promotion for the game. Okay? But to that end, all they're doing is the farming, trading, grinding thing, and it's less about the game. And watching a YouTube video for a strong Path of Exile player, you know, even the Ziggy D's and the, I can't remember some of the other guys. Ziggy D's just sticks in my mind. Okay, but these guys, okay, build characters that they do nothing but run maps. They're strong characters. They know the ins and outs, and they're very intricately involved with the marketplace. And the problem is this game is all about the marketplace. It's not about the game. Everybody playing it is just looking for shortcuts. I mentioned these other players who are like, level 94 and 80. This guy's 70. He's suffering like me. Look at him. But how many people do you see that are level 69, like me, who have sitting here in Act 10 as a found item character? Yet I've gotten hit so hard. But what can fix that is I could go over here to AFACME, and this guy will trade with me and give me, you give me 100 chaos orbs, and I'll get you 40% of your resistances back. No. That's about trading in the marketplace, not the game. And this is my issue with it. It ruins the game. It causes grinding gear to constantly chase the trading and the marketplace instead of the game. So we have all these artificial, arbitrary, and unnecessary penalties. I don't want an easy game. I don't want to. And everyone goes, oh, go to Diablo 3. Since when is Diablo 3 easy? For one thing. And for another thing, no. That's not what I'm looking for. Who wants to play a game that doesn't challenge you at something? You want to feel like you've accomplished something. And this is the thing I've been robbed. I did a lot of work. As most people who do a found item character will know, you do a lot of work, you do a lot of grinding, and you do a lot of suffering. And in the end, you get punished. But you don't get punished necessarily because you finished. You get punished because you're not using the marketplace, because the game was geared for something outside of the game. That is my problem. Vendor recipes are fine, but everybody's vendor recipe is to get better stuff for the trade in the marketplace. And this is something that I just can't tolerate anymore because the game is completely geared to this. If you're cool with that, fine. But don't attack me because I'm not. Okay? I know how these games are supposed to be. This is something that comes from the MMO world. And this is something because grinding gear does not have a handle on the marketplace dynamics. And the only way they could respond is to make the game harder. The problem is it makes it less fun and less interesting to players like me, who I honestly think I'm more the majority of the RPG player. Maybe I'm not the majority of the PoE player, not anymore, as people like me get driven away. And let me tell you, almost 800 hours is not an inconsequential number. You put that together in your life, you think about how many hours that really is. And I'm not a player that sits there and lets my character sit here for an hour or 2 hours or 12 hours doing nothing to build up hours. Those are busy, sweating, sore wrist, bleary-eyed hours. And I have to basically walk away from this game because of it. And that's sad. The problem is, if I'm not unusual. And if a lot of people start doing this game's going to die. It's not going to be able to be supported by the superheroes here. It's just not. Anyway, that's what I have to say about it, folks. That's what's going on. And that's the biggest reason I'm backing away from Path of Exile. This is, this is my well-reasoned, thoughtful kind of consideration of what's going on with this game and why I have a problem with it. There's nothing to attack here. If this is the way it's going to be, and if this is the road grinding gear wants to take, more power to them. But to me, it's just as bad as the loot boxes, that Activision and Ubisoft and EA are all going after. It's just as bad as that. Except instead it's not money, it's taking your time. Time spent doing something other than enjoying the game. Grinding is not enjoying the game. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to do for now. Thank you for watching this. Thank you to Grinding Gear for making something that really was, for most of those close to 800 hours, was an enjoyable experience, but now it's not my thing. Not my thing. Y'all have a great day. Y'all take care of each other, and we'll be seeing you. And hey, remember to catch the channel. Catch Gaming with the Real Duds Fried on YouTube. Currently have the big thing going on now, the Demonetized series, which I'm getting demonetized on 4 of my YouTube channels on February 20th. So we're kind of in the tail end of it now, and I've been doing at least 1 video a day. So check it out, have some fun. I play lots of stuff. So that's it. You guys all have a great one. Duds is out.